Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this Sunday. It's a macro Sunday. It's a long-term Sunday, and there's actually a few things to be discussing that I think are new and going to hopefully provide many context to the long-term picture of what we're looking at right here as Bitcoin does continue on with the rally that we've been looking for quite some time. However, with this coming to fruition, what essentially is to be expected next. So that's going to be the topic of today. And ultimately, I also want to let everyone know that the Prohibit promotion is still going on, which more importantly means that you can still get the Jewel Light for free for the first 30 days if you follow the directions and the link in the description below. And then also with the Jewel Light, that service will be changing starting tomorrow, starting tomorrow for the 17th of April, of course. And with that said, that means that anyone who gets in before that time will be locked into the lower price tier. It'll never change on you as long as you're subscribed. It'll be all good. You don't have to do anything. It's all good. But after that time, yes, things will change. The price will be $10 more. All right, sweet. So let's just start off right on over here, following up with one of the bigger charts, but I do want to put a bit of a spin on it, a bit of a different spin on it, I should say, than what we've been looking at over the past, I guess we've been really watching this one for like about a month and a half now, and that is the volatility versus stochastic momentum signature right here. First and foremost, I should probably explain what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm talking about the volatility getting down to extreme lows, which I define as anything below 15 percentile or more on the 5-day time frame for Bitcoin here, and you can see that's happened many times even in the past few years. And the expansion phase that naturally follows after that contraction phase on volatility has led to an average move of about 40% over the course of about 37 days. Keep that number in the back of your mind's eye, and of course the direction of the stochastic oscillator has been highly correlated to the direction of price action moving, in this case, starting right on over here upon volatility expansion. So of course, this one obviously moved in the same direction. And if we actually go ahead and reference these statistics over the full history of Bitcoin, there's been 11 of these prior iterations on the long side. So I think on the short side, there's maybe like 15 to 20, but more importantly, on the long side, it's really, really interesting. Anytime that we've seen the stochastic oscillator pointed to the upside, it's actually had a 100% strike rate for major upside price action, following through with that. Anyways, the big focus here is, of course, two things: the average return, which is just over 40% at about 43%, and the average amount of times taken in this, the average amount of days taken. Days taken. Sorry, my speech is all fucked up this morning. Don't know what the hell's going on. At 33 days with a standard deviation of 10. So putting this into context right here, I do want to start to paint the picture that I believe that the overwhelming majority of this rally is probably over based off these statistics. So it's not necessarily my belief, it's just going off the statistics. That's what it would suggest. To put this into context, this setup began, this most current one began about 30 days ago. We just closed the 5-day time frame last night. So we are working on day number 35 at the end of this next 5-day period. So you can see just within the context of that, going back on over here, 33 days on average with a standard deviation of 10. Well, we're going to be basically at that number in 3 days, like exactly at that number at 33 days. And then of course, with a standard deviation of 10, on the upper end, maybe we see it go for another couple weeks at best. But anything outside of there would be like a major outlier and unlikely, let's say unlikely from a statistical perspective. And of course, the average return at 43%, well, let's see what we've already done. I mean, from setup given to where Bitcoin's currently at has been about a 50% move. Not bad, not bad at all, you might say. Let me just double check right here. Yeah, even looking at it from that angle, all good as well. Now, of course, there is some variance within these results at about with a standard deviation of about 10%. So it does give us an upper end to the more likely boundary of about 53%. But again, looking at this right here, we've already done a good portion of that move, obviously. So, looking at this from like a top-down view, it would be very much relevant to say that we've probably seen the good majority of this rally. If it does continue on for more, it very likely happens within this next 2-week stretch, and anything outside of that is less likely, I guess. Anyways, looking at my calendar right here, 2 weeks from now will literally be at the very end of April. It'll literally be April 30th to be quite exact. So again, putting the puzzle piece together, what's the old saying? Sell in May and go away. And as we'll go over actually in another video, May for Bitcoin specifically has seen, or Bitcoin specifically during the month of May has seen 13 Mays, prior Mays, and 10 of those 13 have been either sideways with some nice downside action, although, it ultimately did hold up in the grand scheme of things, or major downside action. So 10 out of 13, pretty damn good within that regard as well. So, does that saying hold up yet again? Perhaps yes, but in the interim, does Bitcoin have free reign to rally and continue this one a little bit more? Yeah, it's certainly not out of the question. I should also denote that the 5-day stochastic oscillator is starting to get in some pretty critical regions right here. I mean, we really haven't seen it this high very often, like in Bitcoin's history. And when I say very often, pulling back, we can very clearly see that over the full history of Bitcoin, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prior times where we've seen this true. So, we're getting into some very, 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 very extreme territories right here. The current pivot for the 5-day stochastic oscillator is basically like $30,000. So, as long as Bitcoin's above there, yeah, this next 5-day period probably does see another new high on this rally. Maybe the next 10-day period does as well. But ultimately, very likely going to be coming into, a stopping point on this rally relatively soon from a time perspective. Again, I'd probably give it like 2 weeks. 2 weeks would be probably the most likely thing based upon these statistics. Anyways, moving on now, I want to get into the next portion of this analysis, which is once again revisiting the good old halving dates. So there's been 3 prior halvings in Bitcoin's history. We have number 4th coming up in basically 1 year from now, about mid-May is when it's estimated to be. They don't know exactly when these things will be, obviously, years out, but around that time is kind of what we're looking at. Anyways, as you can see, based off the chart, all of the green vertical bars represent the prior halving dates, like the official halving dates. And what I've done here is I've gone ahead and I've measured out about 1 year prior to that halving date and found that the prior, the prior blow off top, which turned into, you might call it a bear market, just major downside moves, was essentially breaking that trend about 1 year before the actual halving date. So for example, in this case right here, Bitcoin blows off its top right here, obviously, and then comes all the way down, breaks that long-term downtrend in November of 2011. And of course, 52 bars later, 52 weeks, which is 1 year, that was your exact halving date right there. And on this first major move, I do want to denote, because we're going to come back to this, there was a pretty sizable move to the upside. I mean, about 150% in this case, done over the course of 35 days, which is really insane. I guess that was just the magic of Bitcoin back in those days. But going on to the next one over here, same thing, right? Bitcoin puts in its parabolic blow off top, boom, comes all the way down, breaks that long-term downtrend line, 54 bars before the halving date. So, about 1 year, a little bit more. But again, same thing over here, right? Bitcoin goes on this major run, about 100%, and then comes down, pretty heftily as well, as you can see, about 40% off of that one. Soon after that. And then same thing in 2019 as well, puts in the parabolic blow off top right on over here, boom, breaks the downtrend in April of 2019. That was 58 bars before, or 58 weeks before the official halving on May of 2020. And again, same thing right here, major move to the upside, major crash to the downside right after that as well. And what do you know? On this current one that we have seen, Bitcoin broke that long-term downtrend about 66 bars before the estimated halving date. So again, we can kind of see this relationship growing over time. This one's 52, 54, 58, 66. What's the difference between this? 2, 4, and 8. Interesting. There does seem to be some sort of relationship right there. And of course, this one again happening 66 bars before, the presumed halving date, it puts us kind of right in line with that. Anyways, what I've gone ahead and done is I've also measured, like I said, the point from where the long-term downtrend breaks to the next major high, how much time that took, and then the amount of time that it took for the next major downside move alongside the return as well. So we can go over here and let me just go back into this. Again, not too many prior iterations, but it's best what we can do with the data that we do have. And of course, looking at it throughout all of this, we can see that on average, that first major move to the upside was about 140%. On average, again. Now, 2 of these were about 150% moves. One of them was about 100% moves. So no matter how you kind of cut it, pretty fucking big moves. Going back into the charts over here, how much have we seen from that actual breakage Make sure you get it properly right there. There we go. My OCD is kicking in. But basically, from there to our current high, that's been about 43%. Or actually, let me get it on the actual trend line. There we go. Okay, about 50, around 50%. So it is certainly on the lower end as of right now. And again, looking at the amount of days taken on average, well, let's just see, where is it? Yes, time till the next high. The first one, 42 days, that was definitely an outlier. The next couple ones, 133 and 126, basically an average of about 100, give you like 2 to 3 months basically. Anyways, going back into it right here, how much time have we seen transpire to, to when that happened to where we're at right now? Well, about 10 weeks actually. Does that sound right? Yeah, that is right. That is right, actually. Yeah, 10 weeks. That's 70 days. So again, maybe another month on this one, or yeah, about a month. But I would say that between basically the end of April and like the middle of May, that's where things are really starting to shape up from a fiscal perspective, that, we're probably going to see this rally come into a nice distributed phase, and we're probably going to see some nice downside action after that as well, because of course we've gone ahead and even done the calculations on this. And with the next major drop after that first major pump up, we've seen an average move of about 40% or a little bit more than 40% to the downside, with obviously the biggest one being that 53% move that we did see on the last Rona dump, the old Rona dump right there. So of course it depends how high Bitcoin gets first on this, on this current rally. If Bitcoin gets up to like, let's say, $36,000 and then goes for, a 35 to 40% correction, crash, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that put Bitcoin into the mid to low $20,000 territory. If it got all the way up to, 40,000 plus first, and then came down, well, 40% puts you back at around about $25,000. And then obviously if Bitcoin were to top out, maybe around like $33,000, then obviously that's going to be, a much lower projection. So it completely depends upon where we start to see this next top form. But as you can see, time-wise, maybe 2 weeks to like 1 month is probably what we're looking at for this rally. And again, it really depends on how high we get first. But referencing the data over here, could this rally go on for more? Could we see this like truly go for a parabolic blow off? Relative blow off right here. Obviously, it's not going to be like new all-time highs, or very unlikely to be new all-time highs. That's certainly possible as well. Let me actually get this properly. Damn, OCD's kicking in, man. But yeah, there we go. Anyways, 100% off the current lows would put Bitcoin where? Yeah, at that low 40,000. So I still think that that's like the best hopium target here. What do things look like in the short term if that were to happen? Who the fuck knows, man? who the fuck actually knows? But I do want to put one more piece of perspective onto this. So I thought I had it on this chart. Maybe it's on this chart over here. Well, fuck it. We can do it on this chart. Anyways, what I can do now is I can actually put on a Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low of these prior cycles and just see where this first kind of correction came in around. You can see, let me just pull it in there. You can see that this first one did top out on that first major move, somewhere between the 0.5 and the 618. Okay, interesting. Well, doesn't mean much without, further evidence, but let's go on over here. Let's do the same thing from high to low. Okay, I'm doing this on closures, by the way. And what do you know? This one also found its top between the 0.5 and the 618. Okay, interesting. Well, let's move on yet again. What about the most recent one in 2019? Well, we can do the same thing, high to low, of course. And this one actually did trade severely, much greater than the 618 in this case. But the reason why I want to put this one in perspective is because if we do the same thing for this current cycle that we have going on right here, then we would notice that we're actually still below the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement, which all prior moves coming after this sort of portion of the market cycle have gone at least above that, and at least between the 0.5 and the 618. And in one case, yeah, we did see something even greater than that, a little bit greater than the 618, obviously. So again, I do think that Bitcoin's still more likely to see somewhere above 32.5, probably below 38.5. That's why I do kind of say somewhere around like 35, 36 is probably where I'm looking for, or at least where I want to be cautious of if that starts to align with the timing narrative that, that I'm looking at based off of these statistics right here as well. If we start to see Bitcoin around that region, and let's say it's early May, okay, probably, probably a pretty damn good area to be looking for some toppy behavior before the next major move to the downside. But I do want to start to switch around the narrative on this particular channel because, for the last few months, we've been just generally bullish, generally looking for upside moves into these low $30,000 territories. And I want to start to now prepare for that next churn because obviously this is, I don't think this is the start of like a full on bull market right here. I think that we're in a long-term transitionary market, maybe something like this, and we see resolution, maybe around like the end of 2024 or 2025, something like that. It's probably going to be a long time. Anyways, I think that's a good place maybe leaving off on this particular video. We didn't really cover anything about the short-term timeframes, but I'll save that for tomorrow's video, obviously. And in the short term here, that's really all that I have to say about that. That's all that I have to say about that. We don't really want to talk about the Gaussian channel today. I mean, there's really not anything new to be speaking about right here. I think that'll be good for today. As always, want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.